All right, joining us now is a legal analyst for The Athletic. He has a podcast. It is called Conduct Detrimental. He is the guy who I know him right now in this moment in time as the guy who was all over the Zion Williamson lawsuit situation with Gina Ford. His name is Daniel Wallach. Daniel, I want to start by asking just basically the only question I think most of us that have been tangentially following this. Why is Zion Williamson being sued exactly? What the hell is going on here?
Well, he was the one who initiated the lawsuit. This dates back to the time period when he declared for the NBA draft last May of 2019. He signed a marketing agreement with a company called Prime Sports, and its president is Gina Ford. And the reason why this marketing agreement is so important, besides the litigation, is that for a professional basketball player, the first few years of your career, your on-court salary is kind of capped by the NBA salary cap. Mm-hmm. And for a player with the marketing might of Zion Williamson and the potential, the vast majority of his income, at least for the first number of years, are going to come from shoe endorsements and off-the-court endorsements. So he signs this contract with Gina Ford, and it's a bad contract from the get-go because it doesn't allow him any right to get out of it. It's essentially a contract in perpetuity. I mean, this is a player who had all the leverage in the world. He could have chosen any marketing agent. They were lined up around the block with him for him. And he chooses to go with Gina Ford, yet locks himself up in basically what is a lifetime contract under terms that really aren't that advantageous for Zion Williamson. And naturally, upon getting advice after the fact, instead of hiring a lawyer beforehand, he gets wise to the fact that this isn't a good deal, and he wants to sign with CAA as his marketing agent. So he files this lawsuit in North Carolina federal court using and he may be right here. He invokes a North Carolina statute, which is pretty much in every state, the Uniform Athlete Agents Act. It prohibits agents, and within the definition of agents are marketing agents. It prohibits those agents from engaging in any contractual negotiations or entering into a contract with a student athlete unless they are registered with the state and go through certain types of protocols, such as filing, paying an application fee, basically being vetted by the state. She never did that, and yet signed him to a lucrative, arrangement without ever having registered under North Carolina law. So under North Carolina law, the penalty for noncompliance is that the contract is declared null and void. So by bringing this provision into play in his North Carolina federal lawsuit, Williamson was able to basically invoke this UAAA statute to set aside his contract, because this type of statute is designed to protect student athletes from unregistered agents, from unscrupulous agents. They're designed to protect the athlete. And in order to qualify for the protection of the law, all Williamson has to be is a student athlete. And that's defined as somebody who's either eligible now, eligible in the future, or, and this is going to be important, or is actually engaging in intercollegiate athletics. So by virtue of the fact that he played his freshman year at Duke, he was considered a student athlete. And because some of her communications with Williamson's family occurred during the middle of his freshman year, they fell right into a violation of that statute, because they occurred at a time when he was still playing ball with Duke.
So for us, for Tate and I, we are less interested in the Zion Williamson versus Gina Ford outcome. We're probably Team Zion. We love Zion. But what has caught our attention in this lawsuit is there's a lot of stuff trickling out. And I saw you tweeted this yesterday about Zion's house situation. There's a lot of stuff trickling out that is catching our attention because Gina Ford seems to be making this case that Zion was basically paid to go to Duke. Why exactly is that part happening? Explain to the people why that is becoming a sticking point where Gina Ford seems to be, we're seeing these reports that they're trying to get Zion to testify under oath that he accepted money to go to Duke. Again, Tate and I, we're licking our lips at this. Why is this happening? Is that going to actually happen? How do you see all that shaking up?
Well, I'm licking my lips at this too, because this is actually, the biggest sports law story of 2020. The reason why it might be relevant in this lawsuit, and maybe it's not relevant, is that it turns on Williamson's eligibility as a student athlete. In order for Williamson to invoke this North Carolina law, he needs to prove that he's a student athlete. What Gina Ford is trying to accomplish here is to retroactively nullify Williamson's status as student athlete by alleging that from the very beginning of time, he received improper gifts and economic benefits in order to incentivize him to attend Duke. So his tenure at Duke was marred from the beginning, and he never should have been eligible to play for Duke, and consequently is not a bona fide student athlete because he was receiving improper benefits to play basketball there. So what she's trying to do is eliminate the element that he needs to establish under the North Carolina statute. Well, one of the two elements is that he's a student athlete. The other one is that she engaged in impermissible conduct. And I think it's pretty clear based on text messages which have been introduced in the lawsuit that she had some early contact with the family. So that's an easy element for Williamson to satisfy, which now puts Gina Ford in the position of only having one real bona fide defense, which is to eliminate his status as a student athlete. And the only way she could accomplish that is by bringing down the entire house of Duke.
Yeah. Yes. And, yes.
I know that's red meat for everybody, but ask yourself this question. If the NCAA wasn't doing this, and federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York who are investigating systemic corruption in collegiate basketball weren't able to tie, Williamson to improper payments at Duke, what leads anybody to believe that a marketing agent from Miami, Florida is going to basically tackle the system on her own? And the question really does come down to relevance. While this is an exciting and certainly a controversial topic, Williamson's position in this case is that none of that stuff is relevant. I shouldn't even have to be denying these allegations because my status as a student athlete turns on the fact that I played in the games. You can't take that away. And if that's true, and I believe it is under my reading of the North Carolina law, then her fishing expedition really does not seem relevant under the rules of discovery.
What are the chances, do you think, that this testimony under oath, that Zion Williamson will have to, under oath, declare whether or not he was paid by anyone representing Duke University to attend, whether he received impermissible benefits? What are the chances you think that's going to happen?
Well, greater than zero, obviously.
Yeah.
But something south of 50%, and there are two reasons. There are two reasons why. I mean, believe me, I would love to sort of be a fly on the wall in that deposition and be able to report on it and come onto your podcast and start making the waves, the radio shows nationally. But believe me, that would be fun for me. But the reality is there are two gauntlets that Gina Ford has to be able to survive in order to get to that position. Number one, Williamson has filed a motion for partial judgment on the pleadings to basically secure him an outright victory right now. That motion will be ready to be decided by Judge Briggs in North Carolina in roughly 2 to 3 weeks. Williamson gets one more brief that he gets to file. But so by the time July rolls around, we could have a decision on the merits granting Williamson an outright victory based upon a violation of the North Carolina Athlete Agents Act. And if that happens, then there are no depositions. The case falls apart. All of the other claims collapse. So she's got to survive that gauntlet. Number two, there will be admissibility and relevance challenges. Before deposition can be set, Williamson and his legal team and others will be filing motions for protective order and arguing that this line of inquiry is irrelevant to the claims and defenses in the case because he's already established his status as a student athlete by virtue of playing in the games. And that's made pretty clear in the definition of student athlete under North Carolina law. His eligibility might be relevant if that's what he was hanging his hat on, but he's hanging his hat on the part of the definition that grants him student athlete status simply by playing. And so she'll have to overcome this motion for judgment, and she'll have to win the discovery motion. So she's got to basically run the table.
I'm going to spin zone this. It sounds like we might have a March Madness situation after all. The tournament was canceled, but now we have the underdog taking on Duke is what's happening in the courtroom. and America is just going to watch, and we're going to cheer for the underdog.
It's Mercer all over again.
Yeah.
Well, it's instead of a round of 64, we're down to a round of 2, and she's got to win the play-in game and then win the second game in order to get Williamson and potentially Coach K under oath.
For the best access, perspective, and personalities in all of sports, follow us at Fox Sports on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.